Hello everybody, my name is Manu S and welcome to another Eternal Contenders video series. Today I'm gonna show you my updated version of Praxis Tokens. This is another project of RrbbTT and myself. RrbbTT basically approached me with like a raw version of this deck and we started tuning it together since I kind of hadn't done much with the Praxis core for a while because I wasn't very happy with how it did. But yeah, splashing blue is probably like the best thing you can do with it in my opinion, and RrbbTT kind of made me work on this again. So we did some work on this take, and this is what we ended up with. It's basically Praxis, Splash, Backlash, and Scouting Party to give the deck to patch some holes that the deck has mainly sweepers and like longevity. Alright, let's talk about the deck. Also, I dubbed the deck Gunsmith Party because that is kind of like the essential part of the deck in a way that makes it different from what a lot of other people are running, and playing a Scouting Party into a Calderan Gunsmith is quite a party usually, so I figured like Gunsmith Party is kind of a nice name that sums up the unique elements of the deck. Alright, we still have like most of the essential parts of most Praxis token stacks: Grenadin Drone, Initiative of the Sands, Torch, Temple Scribe, Acolyte, some Talir's favored if you're not on like this, in my opinion, kind of weird, overly aggressive plan and run like Outlaws, which I think is kind of bad to begin with in this deck. You probably want like the favorite for like Obelisk and just the general like Obelisk shell assembly line. I still believe that Sandstorm Titan is the best of the 4-drop creatures, tokens or not. You just need it. It's too important as like a board presence to like stabilize the board and also to protect yourself against flyers. So, which is why there's Titan over, say, Disciple that a lot of people are running. And in this list we didn't really find room for Displacers, which would be my second 4-drop of choice as in the past still, since Disciple is mostly just a worse Displacer since it is less flexible. And then like 4 Obelisk and 4 Arcanum Monitor and 25 power. So let's talk about the more special elements and what changed. Like we have 2 Backlash, which are nice. They stop a bunch of like game changing and game winning cards, and the most notable one probably is Harsh Rule because this deck definitely wants to be able to like protect its board presence in some way, and Backlash gives you a good and kind of flexible way to do that. Some other people splash Justice for Stand Together, but I don't like it as much. Like it's clunkier, so it's harder to leave open, and it also like only kind of pumps your board, but doesn't do much else in terms of flexibility, while Backlash can protect you from a whole lot of different cards and blow out the opponent, can stop opposing scouting parties and stuff like that. It's just like a nice card to have right now. And yeah, like 3 Talir's favorite because we couldn't really fit the 4th. Maybe there should be a 4th, like 3 might be a bit low on the power, but then again we don't run as high of a curve as Shimmer Pack, and Finkel even ran like only 3 favorite for the longest time in his Shimmer Pack list, so it has been fine so far. Like having Vault of the Praxis on 4 makes it a little less bad that we don't have 4 of these, because once we hit Vault we can draw extra cards to make it more likely to hit our higher power drops, to hit the 8 for Obelisk, which Shimmer Pack usually can't, so unless they're running Vault as well. So that's why there's only 3. The rest are all like 4-offs, assembly line and all the typical 4-offs. Then we have Vault of the Praxis, something that I haven't been running in the past and kind of dismissed as like too slow and too clunky, but then again my list was also like more proactive, more aggressive with the Flame Blast as a finisher and stuff. Then Vault makes less sense. this deck here is like more mid-rangey and value-oriented, and therefore plays a game where Vault of the Praxis does a lot more, and the games go longer. And Scouting Party and Backlash are two cards that even make it reasonable to go longer, because you have the power play of Party, which is important if you're going longer, and you have Backlash to protect yourself if going longer, while the old version kind of just wanted to swarm the board, run the opponent down, and flame blast them out of the game, basically. So yeah, 3 Vault. 4 seemed like a little much, because they can be really slow and clunky, so 3 is like a sweet spot, gives you usually 1 in the mid game, which is where you want it, basically. And then yeah, we have the Obelisks and Monitors. RrbbTT was kind of a big fan of 2 Crystallize to Monitor, but Crystallize kind of just makes the influence worth, and I think Arcanum Monitor is kind of like a better card overall, because it's like good on offense, good on defense, and like Crystallize is only good in a stall when you have like a good board, and then Crystallize to win. But when you're behind, the card's kind of bad, while Monitor is sometimes still not great when behind, but it's a lot better, and it's better at catching you up when you're behind, in my experience. And can be like a really big threat, like sometimes just get a gigantic Monitor that breaks the stall and beats them down. So I think it does enough in the stall breaking department while doing more in other departments than say Crystallize, and makes the influence better. Then we have the 2 Gunsmiths, another card for basically stall breaking and its finisher. It's kind of like a bit like Flame Blast, but it also allows us to draw 4 cards with our Scouting Party on a stalled board. And it also synergizes with Vault of the Praxis while being a unit. So that's basically why it is better than, say, a Burn Spell. Yeah, and last but not least, we have Scouting Party. I think everybody knows by now like what the card does and how good it is, especially in an Obelisk deck. Card is just great, gives you an entire army for 1 card, and that army also can draw you a whole new army by drawing up to 4 cards, especially if you can guarantee drawing those 4 cards with Gunsmith, which is great. It's a huge upside over, say, Shimmer Pack. I mean, Shimmer Pack has some ways to help Party as well and Crystallize, I suppose, but our Party tokens also get bigger thanks to Arcanum Monitors that Shimmer Pack doesn't have, so that's nice. And yeah, Torch is still like very necessary to like defend yourself early game, kill the cheaper flyers and stuff like that. And yeah, the deck basically plays a lot like Shimmer Pack, just a little more aggressive maybe, because we don't have the Shimmer Pack inevitability, but instead we get like more armies in a can with assembly line and stuff like that, and Grenadin drones, so we get like wider boards, and then we get Arcanum Monitor as like a gigantic overwhelm threat and additional pump effect to make up for not having Shimmer Pack basically, and the Gunsmith Party interaction basically, which is really nice. So the deck has like different upsides than Shimmer Pack basically, and it felt like a little more consistent to me than Shimmer Pack actually. Like I had a lot of really bad draws with Shimmer Pack. If you watched me on stream, you know how poor my Shimmer Pack draws were a lot of the time, while this deck has been feeling more consistent to me, because yeah, it has more redundancy in its elements. You have like 4 Obelisk and 4 Monitor. You have more like stuff to fill up the board, and more good ways to trigger Vault of the Praxis and stuff, so that has been nice. And yeah, the power base, let me explain that real quick. We have as many time sigils as we can, because we need a lot of time for our Initiative Descents and Temple Scribes. Then we have the minimum of 2 fire sigils, so we can fetch them with Ember Acolyte for Arcanum Monitor, because the maximum we need is 2 fire, and 1 Primal, because maximum we need is 1 Primal, so we have 1 Primal for our Ember Acolyte. And then we have all the duels. We have 4 Diplomatic Seal, still, because the deck basically only needs like time, fire, and 1 Primal, which is good requirements for Seal still, especially when you're heavy time and basically Seal most of the time is either Primal or Fire Source. Sometimes early on it's a second time for Temple Scribe. Then we have the 8 Praxis duels for Praxis Banner and for Seed of Impulse. And then we have some additional Primal sources basically. Basically we replaced some time sigils with Seed of Wisdom to still have undepleted turn 1 time for initiative descents, but extra Primal sources, and we replaced some fire sigils with Skycrack banners, which is a bit worse for turn 1 drone, but you don't have to play drone turn 1, and it's better than having more seeds, I think, because the deck doesn't have that many sigils, so it's not that reliable for your seeds to be undepleted, and past like turn 1 or 2, Skycrack banner is usually undepleted because we have so many units that we almost always will be able to play it undepleted. And we want our like red and especially our blue to be undepleted as often as possible, because if we're sitting on 5 with no Primal and we draw like a blue source, we want it to be undepleted to play Scouting Party on curve. So banners are better than seeds for that. It's kind of the same on like 5 with Arcanum Monitor sitting on like 4 power with 1 red, and all we need is like another red. So if we like have no power in hand and top deck like a blue-red seed, we couldn't play it. If we draw a banner, we usually can, because we're almost always gonna have units in play. So banners are overall better other than like turn 1 or 2. That's it for the power base. And for the deck list, deck has been doing pretty well. And I feel like this is the best version of like the Praxis token strategy, even though it's not straight Praxis, that you can build right now. Like, I haven't seen or played anything that seems or feels better than this. I still think the deck is not a tier 1 deck, which is why it is Eternal Contenders. But it probably is a pretty solid tier 2 deck, and I had a winning record with it when I tested it. Deck is quite good. It's not great, but it's good. So if you enjoy this type of deck, and if you're looking for like an updated version to your Praxis Tokens deck, this is what I would recommend going for. This has been doing the best for me of all like the Praxis things that I experimented with so far. Alright, that's it for the deck tech. As usual, I'm gonna jump into a couple of games, so stay tuned for the first half of the games in a moment. Thanks for watching.